A man who is feared is attacked from the shadows. A man who is envied is poisoned at the banquet table. But a man who is underestimated walks freely through gates guarded by fools. In the courts of power and in the streets of politics, the most dangerous thing you can do is announce your superiority. Once a man sees you as a rival, he sharpens his dagger. But if he sees you as a harmless fool, he offers you his secrets. He shows you his blind spots. He even helps you climb the very ladder he would otherwise pull from beneath your feet. This is the power of being underestimated, the hidden advantage of appearing weak to those who only respect strength. The lion roars to show dominion, but he becomes the target of every spear. The fox, quiet and seemingly frail, passes through the jungle unnoticed, and in the silence, he plots. It is not cowardice that drives the wise man to appear foolish, it is strategy. Invisibility is the highest form of freedom. When no one watches you, you are free to move without suspicion, to gather intelligence, to mold your surroundings without resistance. When no one believes you are a threat, they lower their defenses, and in that moment of arrogance, they become vulnerable. A master of deception understands that it is not enough to hide one's intentions. One must also provoke false confidence in others. A general who wishes to win does not display the full strength of his army before the battle. He hides his reserves, he fakes retreats, he disguises his capabilities. This illusion of weakness seduces the enemy into advancing with carelessness. The same principle governs the battlefield of the mind. If you allow others to think they are superior, they will speak more, boast more, reveal more. A wise man learns not by speaking, but by listening to those who think they are the teacher. And what better way to make a man speak than to nod like a fool and act as if every word he utters is divine? Let him enjoy the illusion. Let him feel superior. You are not losing power, you are collecting ammunition. There is a certain arrogance in men who believe they are smarter than others. It blinds them. The moment a man feels he cannot be outwitted is the moment he stops guarding his mind. He speaks too openly. He reveals too much. He forgets that behind a mask of ignorance may lie a calculating predator. And when the trap is finally triggered, it is too late for regret. The underestimated are the ones no one sees coming, and that is why their victories are the most complete. Their enemies prepare for frontal assaults, but their doom comes from the silence of what they ignored. The underestimated man is given more room to move, more chances to watch, and more time to plan. While others are consumed with competition, he is never seen as part of the race. He is dismissed, and so he is left alone, unbothered, unchallenged. That isolation is fertile ground for cultivation of power. It is a cloak under which one may build influence, connections, or plans that cannot be intercepted. Even in failure, the underestimated are forgiven, pitied, or overlooked. They are not scrutinized, for people do not waste scrutiny on those they do not fear. And that is the secret. The man who invites no fear can later deliver the most irreversible consequences. Machiavelli understood that the prince who walks like a peasant can enter where armored kings cannot. That the man who feigns humility may ascend without a war. In a society obsessed with appearing clever, the true tactician hides his intellect behind the plain mask of banality. He makes simple remarks, asks foolish questions, shrugs at insults. He is underestimated by design, for once you have been dismissed, you have already won half the battle. You can walk past the guard. You can sit at the enemy's table. You can touch the strings behind the curtain without anyone watching. The truly powerful do not dazzle with brilliance. They manipulate through invisibility. They do not fight to be seen. They fight to be forgotten until their name is carved into the throne. Greatest power lies not in the strike of the sword, but in the silence that precedes it. A man who wishes to dominate must learn the ancient art of concealing his intentions, for those who reveal their purpose too early give their enemies time to prepare their defenses. In the game of power, to speak openly of one's aims is to surrender the battlefield before the war begins. The wise understand this instinctively. They blur the lines between truth and illusion, between sincerity and misdirection, allowing others to guess but never to know. To conceal one's intent is not merely a tactic, it is survival. Men are creatures of pattern. They react to what they can see, they judge what they can hear, and they prepare for what they can predict. Therefore, the man who cloaks his desires, who speaks in riddles, who behaves contrary to expectation, remains untouchable. His enemies cannot strike what they cannot understand. His allies remain loyal, believing they are part of his design. Even betrayal becomes impossible when no one knows what path he walks. The truly cunning do not lie. They create ambiguity. And in ambiguity, truth becomes irrelevant. The field is cleared for manipulation. Concealing intent does not mean absolute silence. It means crafting a story that others want to believe. The greatest liars are those who wrap their lies in fragments of truth. They reveal just enough to gain trust, just enough to seem honest, while their true ambition flows quietly beneath the surface like a river under ice. The clever manipulator will talk of virtue while seeking dominion. He will pretend weakness while gathering strength. He will compliment a rival's brilliance while planning his fall. Every word, every gesture, every expression is a tool, and each is carefully calibrated to hide the blade behind the smile. The man who cannot conceal his ambition is doomed to provoke resistance. Power, once visible, breeds fear. Fear breeds counteraction, but a hidden power, a silent authority, can grow undisturbed. Like roots beneath the earth, it extends without drawing attention. It entangles everything before it breaks through the surface. By then, it is too vast to destroy. That is the genius of concealed intent. It gives the wielder time, patience, invisibility. While others waste their energy reacting to shadows, he operates in full view yet remains unseen. Niccolò Machiavelli saw how princes fell, not for lack of strength, but for excess of honesty. They announced reforms, declared alliances, exposed strategies, and in doing so, gave their enemies the very map of their downfall. The clever prince, on the other hand, tells his court what they wish to hear. He praises the existing order while secretly dismantling it. He nods in agreement while planning a reversal. The face he presents to the world is a mirror, reflecting the desires of others, while his true self operates in silence behind a mask. This is not hypocrisy. It is design. It is the deliberate separation of inner truth from outer appearance. In the chambers of diplomacy, in the corridors of court, and in the councils of war, the loud are dissected, the transparent are disarmed, and the predictable are defeated. But the man who shrouds his purpose walks untouched. He creates confusion, and confusion is paralysis. His rivals argue about his motives, distract themselves in theories, and in the chaos, he proceeds. He never explains. He never clarifies. He allows misunderstandings to flourish, because every misunderstanding is a layer of protection. The more people think they know him, the less they truly understand. And when they finally see his intent, it is too late to act against it. Even in personal relations, the art of concealing intent is a form of domination. If a man knows your desires, he can manipulate them. But if he cannot read your heart, he cannot reach your core. You remain untouchable. Relationships become arenas of power, and the unreadable man holds the throne. He is trusted because he reveals nothing dangerous. He is liked because he offends no one. And while others speak endlessly, exposing themselves with every word, he listens, nods, and files their weaknesses away. It is not silence for its own sake. It is strategic silence, weaponized indifference, curated confusion. This man understands the law of the hidden dagger. Never show your weapon until it is time to use it. The moment you name your target, you give it time to flee. The moment you show your hunger, you trigger the hunger of others. So you starve in public and feast in private. You let others believe you have no appetite for power, even as you drain their influence drop by drop. Concealing intent is the ability to move like smoke, present, enveloping, and impossible to hold. Those who can master this will never be captured, never be predicted, never be prepared against. They will shape the world while the world looks elsewhere. There exists a rare and subtle form of power that escapes the grasp of most men. An art so counterintuitive, it is mistaken for weakness. This is the power of weaponized stupidity. It is the calculated act of presenting oneself as slow, dull, unaware, while hiding a mind sharper than the blade of a traitor. In courts, in families, in the battlefield of business or politics, The man who pretends to be foolish watches as others drop their guard. The world is suspicious of brilliance. It fears intelligence. It resents cunning. But the fool, the one who laughs too loud, who misunderstands, who forgets names and appears clumsy, is embraced, ignored, or pitied. And in that embrace, the true predator waits. Stupidity is assumed to be a natural state. No one imagines a fool to be dangerous. No one guards against the one who cannot remember details or speak eloquently. A fool is not seen as a threat. He is seen as a tool, as someone to use or manipulate. But the man who plays the fool with precision is no one's pawn. He collects information in the spaces between mockery. He listens when others assume he cannot understand. He observes when others act freely, mistaking his silence for emptiness. They speak openly around him. They scheme without caution. They lower their defenses. And when the time comes to strike, they are already disarmed. To weaponize stupidity is to create a cloak of protection. It is to move through hostile territory invisible, because no one imagines the fool to be carrying poison. It is to become a vessel for truth, because no one lies to the one they think is beneath them. There is power in being overlooked. There is freedom in being dismissed. The wise man who walks as a fool walks unnoticed, and that is the greatest advantage in a world where visibility invites sabotage. In times of war, generals often use feigned retreats, fake weakness, and staged confusion to lure their enemies into traps. This same tactic lives in the realm of psychological warfare. The man who forgets important facts, who appears too emotional, too slow, too simple, he becomes the battlefield itself. Others rush toward him with arrogance, thinking him easy prey. They expose their own desires, their insecurities, their hunger for dominance. And while they celebrate a victory that does not exist, the trap is being closed around them. The moment of truth is never announced. It arrives after the damage has already been done. Machiavelli would say, "Let others think you are the donkey, and when they try to ride you, let them discover they have mounted a tiger." Fools are never feared, and what is not feared is never fought. This is the paradox of power. True control lies in hiding the fact that you have it. The man who weaponizes stupidity does not merely survive. He dominates from the shadows. He allows others to believe they are leading, while gently guiding them toward their own undoing. This tactic is especially effective in the presence of prideful men. Those who believe themselves to be clever cannot resist the urge to instruct, to correct, to display superiority. When placed beside the fool, their ego inflates. They speak more than they should, reveal more than is safe, and assume their opponent is incapable of absorbing or responding. The weaponized fool says little, asks simple questions, stumbles over basic ideas, and in doing so, provokes disclosure. The proud cannot help but teach, and every lesson they give is ammunition for their eventual downfall. To master this tactic requires more intelligence than most men possess, for pretending to be stupid without becoming ridiculous is a fine line. One must be underestimated, not dismissed entirely. One must appear harmless, not useless. The fool must be believable enough to disarm but structured enough to maneuver. It is a performance, a theater of self-erasure. Every word, every pause, every misstep must be precise. The less they see, the more you can move. The less they expect, the more you can take. In the end, power belongs not to those who roar, but to those who whisper in plain sight. The man who seems to misunderstand is often the one who understands everything. He has simply chosen a mask more powerful than truth. In a world where intellect is met with jealousy, where brilliance is seen as a threat, the disguise of a fool is the most lethal armor. It deflects attention, invites trust, breeds overconfidence in enemies, and allows one to move unchallenged through the most dangerous rooms. To exist among wolves is to accept that every smile may hide a set of sharpened teeth. The corridors of power, the chambers of influence, the gatherings of elite men and ambitious minds are not ruled by compassion, but by calculation. Every hand offered is a test, every word spoken is a move in an invisible game, and every silence is filled with hidden meaning. In such a world, survival is not given to the strongest or the most virtuous, but to the most adaptable. The one who knows how to lower his head while sharpening his claws. The one who learns to dress in the skin of the lamb while feeding on blood like the wolf. In an environment where betrayal is currency and manipulation is law, showing your full strength is suicidal. To shine too brightly, to speak too freely, or to trust too openly is to invite a pack of predators to your door. Envy grows in silence, and power provokes retaliation long before it is fully formed. The man who wishes to live, let alone thrive, must first master the art of appearing harmless. Not weak, not incapable, but unthreatening. He must mute his brilliance, dim his flame, and blend with the surroundings like a predator waiting for nightfall. Wolves do not devour those they do not notice. The wise man does not howl with the pack, but he listens to their howling and learns its rhythm. He does not speak of his ambitions. He allows others to assume he has none. He does not challenge the alpha directly. He waits, he watches, he lets the alpha age and grow tired. Then, at the right moment, he strikes with such precision that the pack has no time to react. This is not cowardice. This is timing. And in a world where every move is watched, survival often belongs to the man who moves last, not the one who moves first. Niccolò Machiavelli knew well that power cannot survive in purity. The virtuous man is torn apart by those who hide daggers behind prayers. He is deceived by smiles, ruined by promises, destroyed by those who speak of loyalty while plotting treason. The survivalist, however, sees through the illusions. He expects betrayal, and so he is never caught off guard. He knows that behind every favor lies a price, and behind every alliance waits a test. Trust, for him, is never blind. It is temporary, tactical, and withdrawn the moment it ceases to serve him. The world of wolves teaches a man to wear many faces. In one moment, he is the quiet servant. In the next, the patient friend. In another, the grieving ally. And when the time demands it, he becomes the executioner, calm and unapologetic. To survive, one must learn the vocabulary of masks. You must speak the language of hypocrisy without believing in it. You must make others believe in your helplessness while hiding your hunger. You must take insult with a smile and bury revenge beneath years of silence. These are the laws of the unseen war. No one mourns the man who dies loudly. No one fears the man who announces his intentions. But the man who waits, who blends, who smiles at his enemies while gathering their secrets, he becomes untouchable. He survives every purge, outlives every regime, and inherits the throne built by men who lacked patience. In this jungle of civility, the sheep are devoured and the lions are hunted. Only the disguised predator survives, the one who walks among wolves, unnoticed, unchallenged, and unprovoked. You must understand that in this world, strength alone is not enough. Intelligence alone is not enough. Loyalty alone is not enough. What you need is the ability to hide your strength, to disguise your intelligence, to fake your loyalty. Because when the wolves surround you, it is not your roar that will save you. It is your silence, your control, your ability to let others underestimate you. In doing so, you avoid being targeted, you avoid being envied, and you avoid being removed. The survivor is not the one who fights every battle, but the one who avoids every unnecessary war. He lets others bleed while he watches from the shadows, learning, preparing, planning. In a world of wolves, the visible man becomes prey. The loud man is mocked. The honest man is betrayed. But the one who hides in plain sight, who plays dumb, who nods along while planting traps, that man writes history. Because in the game of survival, visibility is a liability. Power is not in being seen, but in being forgotten until it is too late to stop you. And survival is not earned by fighting every enemy, but by never being seen as one until your blade is already beneath their skin. To move unseen in a world driven by ego and appearance is the highest form of mastery. The essence of Machiavellian masking lies not in lying, but in wearing the truth as a costume. It is not the destruction of your identity, but the careful layering of multiple identities that serve different purposes, each designed to manipulate perception. Power does not belong to those who shout it from balconies or flaunt it before the court. It belongs to the man who walks past kings without being noticed, who offers nothing of himself, but draws everything from others. He does not need to rule openly, because influence can rule more thoroughly than any throne. The Machiavellian masks himself not because he is afraid, but because he is planning. Every expression, Every tone, every silence is calculated to shift the perceptions of those around him, while his true purpose remains buried beneath performances. The world rewards visibility, but punishes power once it is seen. A prince who shows his ruthlessness will breed fear, but also resistance. A man who declares his vision will invite sabotage. But the masked man, he builds empires behind curtains. He speaks in the language of others, reflects their desires back to them, and offers the illusion of submission while commanding through unseen levers. He may appear as a fool, a friend, a loyal follower, or even an indifferent bystander. And in every form he wears, he collects secrets, gathers leverage, and influences outcomes without ever revealing his role. The mask is not a disguise. It is a weapon, forged in silence and polished in deception. Machiavellian masking requires the suppression of ego. The man addicted to credit, applause, and recognition will always betray himself. He will seek validation and in doing so, reveal his ambition. The masked man has no need to be understood. He lets others project onto him what they wish to see. Some will think him a coward. Some will think him loyal. Some will dismiss him as irrelevant. All are useful errors. He does not correct these illusions because illusion is his greatest shield. The moment you are defined, you can be destroyed. But if you are unknowable, you are unkillable. You pass through fire untouched because no one knows where to strike. The court is filled with actors who do not know they are acting. They believe their words, trust their emotions, and attach themselves to identities that shift with the winds. But the Machiavellian sees through this. He knows identity is fluid, behavior is a tool, and appearance is a lever. He is not bound by consistency, because consistency is a prison. Instead, he becomes what the situation demands. If he must be humble, he bows. If he must be cruel, he smiles while inflicting pain. If he must be invisible, he fades. This fluidity is not weakness. It is dominance without resistance. He is water in the halls of stone. Even in personal affairs, the mask is worn with care. A man who wishes to keep power in his household, in his friendships, in his rivalries, must never reveal the full machinery of his thoughts. He must never speak plainly. He must appear predictable, perhaps even dull, so that others believe they have measured him. In doing so, they stop looking deeper. They stop suspecting. And in that darkness, he moves without chains. He listens to every complaint, remembers every slight, registers every weakness. And he speaks just enough to remain trusted. His mask becomes a mirror, and those who look at him only see themselves. True manipulation is not loud. It is not forceful. It does not look like manipulation at all. It feels like trust, like comfort, like mutual interest. That is the genius of Machiavellian masking. It removes the scent of threat and replaces it with a fragrance of harmlessness. While others wield power like a sword, the masked man uses it like poison, silent, invisible, and irreversible. The king who needs armies is weak compared to the man who can turn allies against each other with a single whispered phrase. He never raises his voice, but men still kneel. He never reveals his desires, yet they are fulfilled. His enemies search for him in the open, never realizing he is already seated beside them, smiling, agreeing, encouraging them to destroy themselves with confidence. The mask grants the freedom to act without consequence. It shields from envy, from preemptive attacks, from blame. The masked man is always in control because no one suspects him of control. His enemies look elsewhere. His rivals underestimate him. His allies never question his motives. He lives beneath their radar, shaping destinies while others fight for attention. He watches them compete, rage, fail, and he collects the spoils, untouched, unchallenged, unknown. For the one who wears the mask rules in silence, commands in shadows, and builds in the blind spots of the powerful. His greatest power is not that he strikes. It is that no one ever sees his hand move.